What's up, Achievers? Jason Pack here, and today I'm going to cover 5 keys to building muscle quickly. And I'm not going to do so by talking about quick fixes or supplements or insane workout programs, because not only is that unrealistic, it's ridiculously ineffective in the long run. And instead, I'm going to cover time-tested principles that we use with our members every single day. And the funny thing is that the long, slow, steady approach is always quicker and always more effective in the long run than trying to take shortcuts. So key number 1 is to focus on compound movements over isolation muscles. Now, in theory, it makes sense. If you want to build your arms, if you want to build your biceps, you do curls and you flex them, especially because in the short term you get a quick pump and you really feel the burn. But that's just not how your body works. Nothing ever works in isolation, and if you want to build muscle in the most balanced way possible, then you want to focus on compound movements that target as many muscle groups as possible. Now, when I say compound movements, there are 4 key ones. Number 1, there's your lower body push, and this is all of your squatting variations, whether it's goblet squatting, front squatting, barbell back squatting, all of those. On the other side, there's lower body pulls. These are your deadlifts, your Romanian deadlifts, exercises like that. And then on the other corner, there's upper body pushing exercises. So your push-ups, your military press, your bench pressing. And the last category are your upper body pulls. So your pull-ups, your rows, those sorts of variations. Now there's some other movement patterns that I'm neglecting right now, like lunging and rotation, but I'll just leave those out for now for simplicity's sake. So what happens is when you start to work on these compound movement patterns, you end up recruiting more muscle groups. And when you recruit more muscle groups, you end up creating more of a disturbance throughout your body. This prompts your body to build a lot more muscle than it would if you just broke things down and isolated them. Alright, so key number 2 is to actually use exercises that isolate muscle groups. Now, I know it seems like we just totally ripped on isolation exercises, and it's not like we don't like them. They're clearly effective, as bodybuilders have proven. They just end up becoming way too hyped and way too prioritized when people are trying to build muscle. You want to think of compound movements as making up 80% of your base, and then the last 20% just being the icing on the cake using isolated muscle group exercises. Now, I can think of a couple key instances where this might be appropriate. One application would be if you have a muscle group that tends to sort of lag behind for whatever reason from an aesthetic standpoint. If that's the case, then you might want to work on your calves or your arms or your pecs or your forearms, whatever muscle group that might be lagging behind. It's totally reasonable to spend some time at the very end of your workout doing some concentrated targeted work on those areas. Now, the other application is for injury prevention. So let's say you have some shoulder issues and you want to work on your rotator cuff muscles, or maybe you have some knee pain and you want to work on your hip stabilizers, or maybe you have some lower back pain and you need to do some remedial core work. Spending about 10 to 20% of your time on these sorts of exercises is totally appropriate as long as it's in the context of a very well-balanced program. Alright, key number 3 is that you need to vary your repetition ranges. Now, if you open up any sort of muscle building magazine, they'll tell you that 8 to 12 repetitions is the best zone to build a muscle. And that's because at one point there's research saying that 8 to 12 repetitions was the best rep range for hypertrophy. And that's why you see so many protocols where there's 3 sets of 10. Because 10 is right in the middle of that rep range, and it's a nice even number. However, what you'll find, and what I found out when I first started lifting, was that if you stick with this 8 to 12 rep range because it's the best muscle building zone, you'll end up plateauing because your body will get super comfortable with that zone. At certain parts throughout the year or throughout your program, you should start to explore rep ranges like 1 to 3 or 4 to 6. They're commonly known as repetition ranges that induce strength. And while it might be easy to categorize these rep ranges as this one is for strength, and this one is for muscle, and this one is for endurance, you can have all of these rep ranges work together to enhance the results of the other. Now, this is not to be confused with muscle confusion. It's not a totally random thing where you change things up every single time you go into the gym. What you want to try to think about is carefully strategize when you want to transition to a different rep range in order to prevent plateauing. What you'll find is that the strength you build in a lower rep range will help carry over to results in a higher rep range. Number 4 is going to be frequency. At a certain point, you're going to need more exposure, more practice with these compound movement patterns if you're going to continue to get better. Benching, squatting, deadlifting once a week is going to be phenomenal for a beginner who works out 1 to 2 times a week. Now, if you're more of an experienced lifter, you might want to bump that up to 3 or 4 times a week. And not only that, you might want to consider doing these exercises twice in a week. But now, they don't have to be identical. You might want to front squat one day, and you might want to back squat the other, or maybe you might bench press with a certain tempo on day 1 and bench press with a normal tempo on day 2. The key is to just get more repetitions in at a challenging weight, and also stress the movement pattern with more exposure. Key number 5, lastly and most importantly, is going to be your nutrition. You can lift all you want, but if you're not providing your body with the nutrients that it needs to actually build muscle, then you're seriously going to mitigate your results. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to go out and get Tupperware and cram all your meals in there and bring gallons of water with you everywhere. We're much bigger believers in taking the minimum effective dose because it's much more practical from a sustainability standpoint. So here are a few key things that you want to focus on. Number 1 is try to drink at least half your body weight in ounces. So let's say you are a 200-pound individual. You want to drink about 100 ounces of water throughout the day. And that would be about 5 20-ounce water bottles throughout the day. Secondly, you want to try to aim for about a gram of protein per pound of body weight. So again, if you weigh 200 pounds, aim for about 200 grams of protein. And lastly, don't try to worry too much about timing or your macros. Just eat when you're hungry. Try to have high quality foods with lots of veggies. Just following those simple guidelines will take you about 80% of the way there. And if you want to get those last 20%, there's plenty of resources that you can look at to address macro needs and nutrient timing needs and things like that. All right, so there you have it. Those are 5 keys to building muscle quickly. Now, if you follow those 5 things that I just talked about, I promise that you'll build muscle a lot quicker, and you'll be a lot stronger, and you'll save a lot of time, energy, money, and frustration than had you jumped on one of those quick fix programs. If you like this video, please hit that little thumbs up icon below, subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, peace, love, and muscles.